journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. So this is the place that we get the story, or we call it the prodigal son. Prodigal can mean wild, it can mean reckless, it can mean over the top or extravagant. A lot of times we assign prodigal to the son because of the way he lived. But it can also be used in a positive light, and really the father is the prodigal one in this story because his love is reckless. His love is over the top. His love is without bounds. And so, although the son is at the center of the story, really the real hero of the story is the father. And it said he took all this money that the dad had given him, and he goes to a far country and he wastes it. He plays it up big time. Matter of fact, we see later in verse 30 it said that he wasted it on prostitutes and harlots. So he lived a really immoral life. He probably had a little bit of fun, but now the consequences of his actions are really catching up to him. So he's out of money. And not only is he out of money, that there's a famine in the land. And it said when he had spent all there was, there arose a severe famine in that land, and he began to be in want. So guess what happens when you've got a lot of money, you blow it all, and now there's a famine. What do you got to get? You got to get a job. Go to work. He fed slop to pigs. Now, as a Jewish man, it's like hitting rock bottom. Right? Because in Jewish culture, swine or pigs are considered unclean. So for him to take a job feeding pigs is actually hitting rock bottom. There's nothing worse than that. It says he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, came into his fields to feed his swine. He would grab his stomach with the swine, but nobody gave him anything. So this guy gets to the point. Anybody ever been like really hungry? Right? Yeah. Either by choice or you didn't have enough food. Anybody ever been so hungry you want to eat pig slop? Probably not. I mean, that would be pretty bad. But this guy gets to the point where he says, I'd be happy with pig slop, but nobody will even give me the slop that they're feeding the pigs. Himself, the New Living Translation I like, it says, when he came to his senses. I mean, he must not have had much sense to start with, but I mean, how much sense does it come to take to realize, okay, I blew all my money, I'm living in famine, I'm sleeping with pigs, and I got nothing to eat. I think I'll go home. Duh. I mean, where else would you go? So he devises this plan to go back to his dad. He said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perished with hunger? Here's what I'm going to do. Verse 18. He says, I will rise, go to my father, and will say to him, here's his three things. So here's what he does. He's like any good preacher. He puts together a 3-point sermon, right? I don't do 3-point sermon. I try to do 1 point and kind of drive. Well, actually, I got 3 points today. Forget that. All right, 3-point sermon. So what's he say? He says, Father, I've sinned against you and against heaven. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. And then he says, make me like one of your hired servants. That's what he rehearses. I'm going to go to my dad. I'm going to throw myself at his mercy. I'm going to say, I've sinned. I'm no longer worthy. Make me like a hired servant. So he says he arose, came to his father, but when he was still a great way off. See, a lot of times we read this part of the story and we think, oh, here's the place where the son was repentant and he turned and he was broken and he realized the error of his ways. But let's be honest. Why was he going back to his dad? He was hungry. He wasn't sorry. Matter of fact, if he still had money, he'd probably still be living the wild life. He's going back because he's hungry. He wasn't sorry, I don't think. He's going back to get fed. What I like about that, he's like, well, that's not good. Probably not good, but what I like about it is it shows us that it doesn't matter what your reasoning is, what your angle is, what your agenda is, if it's selfish, if it's fleshly motivated. When you go to Jesus, he's there with an arm. I think you got to only go for the right reason. There were people who followed Jesus just because he got bread. There were people who followed Jesus just because he did miracles.